We're live. All right, so this the show tonight is very 2020 because I have Felix on Skype that I usually see every day. I have Brian that I've never talked on Skype before, but we see each other like every X month or whatever. And Felix is controlling my computer with Chrome desktop. So, and I have the chat in like another computer. So this is a very, very 2020 setup. But here we are. Welcome to the show tonight. So I'm with, as I said, I'm with Felix, aka Delix, as you might have seen on the stream before. Our tech guy, basically. And then we have Brian, who's been not playing Magic lately, as he told me before. So it's actually ideal for the show that we wanted to do because we want to do something that's like not too much about Magic. And like the fact that you haven't played Magic, and I didn't know that. I mean, honestly, I kind of assumed because I didn't hear from him playing like the online GPs or whatever, or even streaming. I think you don't stream that much, do you? Okay, so yeah, you don't want too many people to hear it because you don't want to like be prized into doing it. Is what you mean? Okay, yeah, I can feel that. Definitely do that. Actually, Felix and I, that's like our brand, that we have a show every Tuesday night where like we say like stuff like, oh, we see a nice standard deck or a nice like, we talk about something that happened in Magic, whatever, the new GPs, and like, oh, can everyone hear us? No? Hey, Brad. Nice shirt, nice shirt, nice shirt. Oh, okay. Why is the desktop audio? I think you have to. Yeah, you have to change it. I know how. Okay, I'll do it. 1 second.
Oh, well, I feel like this is working now. Hello?
This works. Yeah.
Can you guys hear us?
Can someone in the chat confirm?
If you hear us, let us know.
Oh, I hear. Great. Okay, awesome.
Right. Sounds great.
We're live.
Perfect.
Okay, so I guess they did not hear anything you said.
Yeah.
Oh, so I should repeat all the incredibly offensive things that I said at the start of this cast, where I went down my laundry list of like 30 really offensive things I start off every stream with, and just say them again, or what? Should I maybe hold off, or
just start from number 3? I love number 3.
No, number 3 was
someone says, yes, offend us. All right. So I guess I don't know. Nothing was super relevant. I guess you didn't get to like meet them when I said Felix and they said hi. So
yeah,
they said
nothing
hi.
was super relevant except my life story, Pascal. Wow, way to shit on it. Like,
ouch.
So, okay, where should we pick up? Basically.
Yeah, let's start with the obvious. Brian, how has your how do you want to call it, like, social distancing been?
It's been a lot of distancing.
Yeah.
I've been
how much more than usual?
Actually, like a reasonable bit more. Like I almost never leave the house anyway, but in this case, I think I've left the house like 3 times in the last 2 months. Well, like I'll go outside, like for like 20 minutes or whatever. Okay, but I mean, like, actually, like leave the house.
Yeah.
And it's they've all been to the grocery store, and that's it. I haven't left the house other than that, like, single time. So it's been it's been a bit extreme. Yeah.
Can't you get your like groceries from Uber? Aren't they like testing something like that, or Amazon Prime or whatever, that you can get your stuff like at the same time as Uber Eats? You can get your entire groceries.
You can. We did that once, but they like messed up a lot of it, so we just were like, whatever, we're not going to do that again.
This is not going to work for a couple of years. Fuck that.
Yeah, might be hard.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned, and I definitely want to talk about that because I want to hear what Felix and you were going to talk about. Because, like, when we started this, we're like, Felix doesn't know Brian as much as I do. And I guess if it was someone that we both didn't know, like, then we would, have each of our questions. But since Brian and I are, like, good friends, it's just us catching up, I guess. So I want you to talk about WoW, World of Warcraft, or like, because Brian told me that's basically what he's been doing the past 2 months. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what they both have to talk about, because that's what Felix has been doing too for the past 2 months. So like,
all right.
Did you guys break the format or something? Like,
I guess I did break the social distancing format, because I can be like grouped together with 39 other people, and like it still feels like a social thing, I kind of feel like it's like the charm that I find in WoW is kind of the same charm that I'd find in a local gaming store. I don't know about you, Brian, on that, but like there's this like small community aspect to it that I really like, and yeah,
I kind of feel the same way too. Like I've been on Discord a lot with people from my guild, and it's like, you can kind of get a feel for what people are like. Like, you don't actually see, it's kind of different because like you don't see them and you don't know anything about their personal lives. So it's different than like a game store, but you still get a feel for like,
yeah, absolutely. And it's like, go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like their personalities, and like you get the same level of stuff with Magic sometimes too, where it's like some people are really nerdy about like maximizing their DPS or how much damage they're dealing, and some people are really nerdy about like the lore of the game, and it's just all kinds of different players, so it's pretty cool.
So it is kind of like going to a game store, local game store, kind of. You really get
to some extent, yeah. It's like if
range, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, if you went to a game store that was like, yeah, if I wanted to like make the perfect comparison between like playing with the guild in World of Warcraft and like go into a local gaming store, it would probably be something that like when you get into a guild and you start knowing people and everything, you know someone by their character's name and by the way they play their character, kind of. Yeah. And like in the local gaming store, it's a more direct link with the person, as Brian said earlier, like where you I don't know, like I know you as Pascal, right? Like we've known each other from a card store, literally, and like first time we met was like, I'm Felix, I'm Pascal, that's about it. Whereas in WoW it's more, I guess
you're forced into interacting, kind of.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it's more like I don't know, like whatever character name is what people are going to call you. So yeah. It's a bit different. My name is Cow. I just play a Tauren, so people call me Cow.
Cow?
Nice.
Fanta. Yeah, it's like Fantastic Cow, so people call me Fanta or Cow. That's pretty much it. What's your character's name, Brian?
All right. I play a gnome, and
sweet.
Yeah, my character's Goat Lord.
Lord.
Yeah.
I love it. That's really good.
It's a throwback to like originally when I played, because it's like a 15-year-old game at this point. So originally that was my original character. I just remade my original character. So I was like,
class and stuff.
Same class, same bald hairstyle, same.
Now that I think about it, it really makes sense that you play a gnome. You kind of look like a gnome.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
I mean, you're also like 6'2" or something, so
I'm taking it as a compliment. I approve of the gnome race. So,
but aren't you? You're like 6'2", right?
I'm 6'1". Yeah, close enough. So
you're like two gnomes.
Yeah, two gnomes on top of one another. Yeah, that's correct.
Forgot the trench coat, but otherwise it's basically correct. Yeah.
DZ in the chat says they'll elbow drop your bread, probably talking about the Amazon like delivery thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That might
happen. Yeah.
So it says, BBD, can you stop being a special guest on Bash Bros since you're on weekly? What does that mean?
Well, so for I don't know if you like, we do excuse me, Brad and Corey do a weekly podcast called the Bash Bros Podcast.
Right.
Every
I
week,
know about that. Yeah.
every week there's a special guest. Just because it's me every week doesn't make it any less special. So that's the.
Oh,
I thought you were just part of them, actually.
Yes, I am. It's just like our running gag is that
okay.
each week there's somebody new, you know, but it's just always me. And it's always a disappointment, you know? Yeah. It's always like we tried to get this person, but they didn't return our calls, so then we settled for
Right.
That's just okay. All right.
Wow.
Oh, we got a sub from someone that was hidden by BBD's name, so I can't see it. Oh, that's Brad. Brad is back for
Thanks,
the
Brad.
second month.
Well, Brad
I'm just gonna read what he said. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say Brad living in my shadow sounds great.
Looks like you'll have a shitty special guest screener too. Screener too? I don't know what that means.
He's saying that you guys made a very poor choice in your first guest on Pillow Talk. Is what he's saying.
Ouch.
Thanks for that. I love that you had to translate it.
So are we having Brad next time? Is that what's up?
Yeah.
I need to close.
Little known fact. I'm actually the Brad Nelson translator.
Oh wow, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Like,
anytime
it makes sense out of everything he says.
Exactly. Like anytime we're at like dinner, Brad has a notorious problem of saying the wrong card names. And so I always know like what he means by it. So I'm just there to just provide like running like translation commentary over top of his like his story about how he got like magma sprayed when it was actually like, you know, incendiary flow or whatever. So
Oh, all right. So yeah, you kind of have to like have a good knowledge of his background and like the games he played.
Yeah.
To give the whole picture. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's actually like, I think there's a lot of people that are like that on the PT or like just competitive Magic players. So many people just don't remember the name of the cards ever. And I can't tell if sometimes people are just like, oh, I didn't play, I don't care, like trying to just look like they don't actually, like they know but they don't care. They don't want to seem like they care. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
So, like, I don't know where I was going with this. I don't remember, but just I want to write this down as like a question. Like, are you? Because I don't think there's that many player, but like I do believe that Brad just genuinely doesn't know the name of the cards.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't think he's that kind of person that was describing. So I wonder how many of those are there out there. So I'm just gonna have that question to ask for future. This is the first time we're doing Pillow Talk, so
this is our first Pillow Talk. Yeah.
So
I didn't bring a pillow. I'm sorry.
I have Mythic Society pillows.
Oh,
nice! Wow, you came prepared with
yeah. Too bad that we can't sell those
Hey,
because like we bought them. We had them made for by like where was it? Where'd you get those, Pascal?
Vistaprint, just like
Vistaprint, yeah.
Basic. I don't know, the Walmart of internet printing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like the biggest.
The Walmart of internet printing. I love it.
So,
all right.
Do you want to go with the questions? Question, Felix. So we have a bunch of questions. Like, you can look for a question while I say that, Felix, or already have one ready.
Oh yeah.
So basically, Pillow Talk is literally what we're doing. Literally what we've been doing since we started the show, and not explaining what we're doing, but you know that was a good sample of what we're gonna do. And we started with Brian. He's a good friend of mine. I was pretty confident he would say yes, and we just get along. So it was like a sure shot. But we have a list of players that we are interested to talk about. Just like the goal is really to not talk too much about Magic. We want to talk about like human stuff, and obviously it always ties up to Magic a little bit, just because the people.
Well, I mean, we're all Magic people, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like the ones that we want to talk to, they are all people that are completely like emerged. Is that a word? Like emerged into Magic. Like their life is all around Magic. Like almost every time, right? So this is the show, and we have a bunch of questions that like we may or may not ask. We'll ask them when they fit in our conversation. We don't want to be too structured, basically. So yeah, we're just gonna go with Felix's question and continue.
Yeah. I guess my first question for you would be like, I'm gonna start and go like next to Magic right quick. But what's your favorite thing about Magic that's not playing the games? Like, why would you choose to play Magic instead of like professional poker or whatever? Like any other type of like, I guess, strategic RNG related game?
Yeah, so I'm actually interested to see what you have to say about that, BBD, because that's a question that I talked to Felix about. Like, this is something that happens to me a lot. People, like, always ask me, like, why, like, I explain to them what I'm doing, and I'm like, why aren't you, like, playing poker instead? Like, because that's also, it has to do with the fact that when I try to explain what Magic is, like, competitively, professionally, whatever, I say that it's, like, a mix between poker and chess, you know? And so I guess that drags the question, why aren't you playing poker? But sometimes people give me other stuff, like, why aren't you doing this or that has the same skill set? So yeah, like, I don't know if this is a question you get a lot, BBD, but I'm interested to see what your answer is.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get it sometimes. I think for me, like, the biggest thing is just like the puzzle solving aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to get bored with games. Like, I think the biggest... I have never really gotten into poker, so I don't want to speak towards it. But from what I've heard of other people who play a lot of poker and Magic, the biggest thing is that poker just becomes incredibly repetitive and boring.
Yeah, it's like so much of it. Like, yeah, it's so repetitive. It's
always the same 52 cards, right? It's always going to be like you won't be drawing like a Snapcaster Mage or...
Basically, what you're doing is you're just... There's like basically a Bible of like theories and stuff that you can and should probably do in poker, and it's like a Bible. If you put it in a book, it would be probably a Bible. So basically what you're doing when you're playing poker is just reading this over and over and over until you're through everything, but nobody is actually like at the end. So there's always someone who gets a little bit better because they're just deeper in the book, I guess. But like, and it's just that, but it's the same Bible every time. So like, that for me, that's the reason that I don't like poker. It's just way too repetitive, just doing the same thing. Magic changes every month, every 3 months, or even sometimes like fucking weeks. Because
every weekend, yeah.
Sometimes it's day to day. It's like somebody crushes with a deck, and then everyone's playing that deck on the ladder, and then someone's beating it with something else. I mean, yeah, it's just it just changes so fast. Like,
that's a really, really good point you're bringing up. Like, how did the ladder change your relationship with Magic? Like, not having to play a ladder, but like just having a ladder to play on, because it's a very different experience from like playing a game store or whatever.
Yeah, it's really different, and I don't think it translates that well to paper Magic either, because you're kind of playing against. It kind of creates a separate metagame that's like different than the normal metagame, where you're not just metagaming against the format, you're also metagaming against, like, this deck is 50 mythics, and so half the people that are playing will not have that many mythic wildcards to build this deck. So I don't have to play against it that often. I don't have to metagame against it. Like, there's all that kind of stuff that happens on the ladder, where it's like, 25% of my opponents are playing mono red, so I'm going to have a million cards against red, even though I go to this paper Magic tournament, I play it 0 times or something. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It's like a completely different metagame almost, and I feel like you can't really translate one to the other.
I had a question related to that. Like, do you like? In what way should it change your deck building choice or your deck choice?
I feel like it's not like always the same, but in most cases, I would just try to pick either a deck that's just generically good or a deck that's skewed against like whatever the
thing you're playing the most against. That's just
deck of the day is or whatever. Right,
okay, that's kind of like what I was thinking too. I haven't played that much ladder. I know you played a lot with like Esper Hero decks, which there was ladder back then, right?
There was, yeah.
Yeah, you were streaming a lot back then, correct?
Okay, yeah,
so that's when I remember last like you playing a lot, I guess.
Yeah, that was me. Like, so what I did then with Esper Hero was I thought Hero was the best deck, so I would just tune. There was like, I don't know, 5 flex spots in the main deck, I guess you could say, or maybe a little bit more, and I would just change whatever those cards were to whatever people were playing at the time.
Okay,
and that's what I did.
I just remember something really funny. So the show that we have every Tuesday, that's in French, fortunately, but we've been doing this for like a year. And last year, we were in our show. We had basically like a 30 minutes, an hour, where we were talking about the metagames, and always standard because we were doing standard tournaments, and we pulled up the fandom results every week, and we were talking about that. And every time we were just like, "Oh, maybe just playing Esper again." And then
I remember that. Yeah.
We didn't even bother clicking the list because we were like, "There's gonna be one card different."
Oh man, that's really funny. Yeah, it was kind of a gag for us. Yeah, oh, for sure.
Saved you a click. Boom. Yeah,
you did.
So yeah, I remember, and it makes sense. So yeah, so you played a lot of ladder, and that's your take on it. Basically, like you should just like it's like a real, I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like a turbo version of like going to a weekend tournament, kind of, because it just changes every day instead of,
I guess that's true, yeah,
every week. So it's like, I mean, that brings a lot of other changes, but
yeah, and like
it also
the kind of
go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, the influencing force behind the changes is like people rather than results too. I feel a lot like
people what? Sorry.
You know, like popular streamers will stream with a deck, and then people will be like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick that deck up. I'm gonna play that deck," and stuff like that. And
it has to do with the hotness, like, and like influence on social media, more than like actual
clout
results.
Has something to do with it to some extent.
Yes.
And, yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I was
the ladder is cloud based.
This cloud-based
literally
ladder.
Yeah.
So create a bot that just like picks up all the tweets in one day and then takes all the like the keywords mono red and like it just parse through it, and then you get a metagame.
I'm just going to I'm gonna buy like 10,000 followers on Twitter just so I can influence the metagame like 15% more. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that, but
that's awesome. Oh, you should, man.
Someone says Crookies got a ton of people to play Luca Fires this weekend. Yeah, actually, I didn't even know what Luca was doing. I didn't understand, like, I don't know.
Luca's a red planeswalker, right?
It's the red planeswalker from the new set that, like, the first time that I read, I was just like, it was in the section of my brain that's just like, okay, this is good in a creature deck, maybe. And then, now that it's played in a deck that plays, like, basically no creatures, I'm like, I don't get it. So I didn't look further. I tweeted about it. People actually replied to me with deck lists and explanations. So now I know. But I didn't know before that. So I guess Crookies did that, like, when? When did he, like, start doing well or posting about it? Because, yeah, apparently everyone is playing that in the weekly championship this weekend. Like, that's the most played deck. So how the fuck did a deck that based around a card I didn't know what it was doing 4 days ago is now the most played deck of a GP? Like, how did that
I guess it has something to do with, like,
it's that clout, man.
Being
yeah, but it's so quick.
Discarded. Yeah,
it's crazy quick. Like, I don't play that much Magic these days, but like I still always follow like the hot decks that get posted on social media and all that stuff because I don't know, I like it. So I just want to know about it even if I don't play the format, and I've never seen this. So like, I don't get it. Efro says it's been the most played deck on ladder, and it's because it's an arena event with all arena players. People stay on top of this stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, look, I don't play the ladder, so I guess that's like one part of the wheel that I didn't get to explore. I guess.
Yeah.
I just didn't have access to that, so that makes sense. All right. I'll choose one of my questions.
Yeah, go for it, bud.
It's just gonna go sideways, not the same thing at all, not the same subject. But when I kept thinking about Pillow Talk, I was like, this question's gonna be a nice one to just throw at people. So that's what I'm doing. Finkel, Kai, or PV?
I can't hear you. Am I breaking up?
Oh,
He said a Finkel, Kai, or PVDDR.
Ooh, okay.
It lost all of its impact because you didn't hear me. I was like, this is my question. That's what I built this show for. And then...
Oh, yeah. So I never heard of any of them. No, I'm just kidding. I'll go with Finkel.
Finkel?
I'll go with Finkel.
All right.
I think it's close. But...
Go ahead. I actually have, like, my reasoning in my head of, like, why. So if you want to elaborate, like, just a little bit, just to see if we think the same of those players.
I mean, I think they're all, like, insane. So, you know, it's the best, comparing the best of the best. I just think that Finkel had such a dominant career and then, like, stopped playing Magic and then came back and then still was dominating just to such an extent that, like, I don't know. To me, he's just the best. So,
yeah, that makes sense. So mine didn't include PV. I put it because I think it should be considered, like, very soon. So like, I want to put it to start a conversation, but I haven't weighted it, like, yet. But I think he might outclass, like, Kai at some point. With that said, I think Kai had, like, what he's done, nobody's gonna do it ever again, basically.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I like to compare with Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if you follow hockey. I mean, you all know Wayne Gretzky, even if you don't follow hockey. But, like, if you do follow hockey, he's like, when we say he's the Wayne Gretzky or something, like, it really means, like, it might be an expression in English as well, like, outside of Canada. I mean, but, like, his results will. He's not like the comparison is basically like, if he played in the hockey in the past 20 years, like, he would never ever have done this good. And, like, so he was just in an era that was fairly
kind of
easy.
like right place, right time, but
yeah, like, there was
like
not
in a way that he was like the whole, I guess, like, Magic scene and metagame back then revolved around this guy, right? Like the tournament scene and whatever. Like, he was like,
from what I heard, he was, like, the only one that was traveling to everything. That he was like, Magic is the thing I'm doing, and that was
kind of like how
pretty good. Like, he's obviously still very good. Like, probably, I don't know if in today's. I mean, he still plays sometimes, but, like, I know he's not as dedicated for sure. So it's hard to actually look at it, but, like, he would still be, I don't know, top 20% pros or something. I don't know.
I mean, we'd still be talking about him if he was playing regularly in all the pro events and whatnot, right?
Yeah. I mean, he kind of is, but he doesn't play that much GPs. Or I'm pretty sure. I don't know. You've tested with him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've tested with him the last few events or whatever. He got third place in one of the arena championships.
Ooh, that's nice.
Last year, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
So he even had a recent, like, strong result.
So he has result. It's like, okay, yeah. It's just not as, when you compare to Finkel when he came back, it's just not the same thing. Like, yeah,
it's also just, like, a thing of like, back then he was putting in time, you know, to be the best, and now he's not. So, you know, so you get out of it what you put into it too, you know.
Yeah, it's
so
a huge difference.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to make a parallel earlier between, like, you know, when people talk about deck building, how the deck was, like, the first deck of Magic cards that worked properly. Like, I feel like Kai is kind of like the first pro player that did his job, like, the best he could, right?
Actually making decks that are functional.
Yeah, and also, like, as you said, like, traveling to everything and, like, kind of laying down the rules of what it means to be, like, grinding as a Magic.
That's true. Yeah.
Treating it as a pro instead of, like, a hobby in a way.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That would actually be a really good reason why he was so far ahead of competition. Like, he was, like, the first person to, like, basically think about that, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, he was like the first person to live a pro life of, like, you know, the
play Magic, see the world kind of thing, right?
I don't know when the pro club actually started. Like, you know, like, when you could. I remember back then, I think it was level 8 or level 9 that was, like, platinum, basically.
So yeah, like it was like level 8 was like super platinum, right?
Okay.
Oh,
So that was the highest level. Yeah.
I remember when I started playing, it was like the last year of that. So I was
We're talking
level 4, I think.
2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like level 4, and that was like silver plus kind of. So I think, don't actually remember that much, but
Did that whole thing change with Planeswalker points? Like when they introduced Planeswalker points, was that when they? Because I know they went from like the rating system to something else. Like
I think they changed that before.
Been.
I think it was before Planeswalker points when they changed that, but I could be wrong. I don't.
Well,
I didn't really start in until a little bit after that point. So
I don't think so, because I actually think it was using like where. Okay, I remember that before Planeswalker points, there was like the DCI rating website, and I definitely never saw like platinum or whatever on that website. So I think it probably got changed with the Planeswalker points, even if it doesn't relate to the actual Planeswalker points, just like the interface, I guess. That would make sense. If anyone can confirm in the chat, my memory is
I wasn't there back then.
doing me dirty.
So, yeah, you mentioned it that you weren't really playing back then. When did you start playing Magic, Brian?
Well, I was playing Magic. I started playing Magic in 2007, but at that point in time, I mean, I was just playing FNMs and stuff. I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know,
been there.
so I did watch Pro Tours. I remember watching the first Pro Tour I watched was Time Spiral, I believe, was the Pro Tour.
Oh man, that's my favorite.
That's been a while. Yeah,
the one that Mike, I think it was Mike Ron won with. It was like the guy had Tithys in his hand and he couldn't get enough mana to cast it to kill Spectral Force, I think was the game or something.
That's insane.
It deals 16 damage as well.
Yeah, Fifthizis or whatever it's called. Fifthizis.
Yeah.
That card,
Yeah. That was the first memory I have of watching Pro Magic. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you where were you living, if you don't mind saying, like when you started playing Magic? Because I always see you as like the guy that lives at in Roanoke with like the boys, like Todd, Brad, I don't know, other people that have been cycling through the place. What it seems like people always move in or out or something when they work for Star City. So I if I'd have to guess, I would say that you're from there, but you're not, I think.
Yeah, I was living in Infamy. No, I'm just kidding. I was living in Blacksburg, Virginia, which is like 40 minutes away from Roanoke, where all the SCG stuff is.
Okay.
I went to school there. Virginia Tech is in Blacksburg. So that's where I was when that's actually where I learned to play Magic, was in college at Virginia Tech. Okay. And then just so happened to be I started playing Magic, and then we started going to FNMs at Star City games.
You were doing 40 minutes to go to FNM?
We were going there. So
you're an SCG guy through and through, man.
Yeah, so I was there as an FNM player before any of these charlatans moved to Roanoke. Yeah.
That's actually charlatan. Wow. Is that people from Charlotte or?
I wish it were. Yeah. So then but that's where it was. So I was kind of a homeboy instead of a transplant like they were.
Transplant. That's a great choice of words.
I'm trying to bust out the. It's been a while. What's that? Yeah, I'm the OG.
OG SCG, like the actual, like you went from. You were born at Star City Games, basically.
Yeah. There's Spank says in the chat that like BBD used to be the player that pros said had a bright future from the SCG scene. He's all grown up now.
Yeah, and that future is down the drain. No, yeah, that was I don't know. That was fun times. I was definitely the local guy, and then they came, and I kind of forced myself into their group. So that's how I got started.
Nice.
Oh, it all
okay,
sucked.
so it went like peak to like I just forced myself.
I just inserted myself into their I don't know, cloud of whatever. So
Oh, Dead One with the 7 months. Thanks, Dead One.
Thanks,
Welcome
everyone.
back.
Appreciate it.
Merci, man. So you basically So I mean, it really makes sense that you got really good, real quick. Also, kind of because you were just like with people that were better than you for so long, probably maybe even like still.
Oh yeah.
Would you say Brad's better than you?
I would say that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the best ways to get better in Magic is through osmosis, right? You play against players that are better than you are, and then like it's easier to see where you went wrong when you see someone not making those mistakes, and like you have to question yourself, like why did he take that line of play and whatnot. Like, would you agree with that? Yeah.
I would agree with that. It takes some amount of you can't have an ego though, and you can't
for sure.
Like, because you have to, like, that was honestly I could have gotten way better at Magic much faster than I did, except I was super stubborn. And if somebody that was better than me would tell me that what I was doing was wrong, I would just dig in and be like, no. I'd be like, no.
I'm a better player. Brian's a better test partner. Win-win.
Ooh, nice.
That sounds that's really nice.
It's a good duo.
The dynamic duo. But yeah, I would just dig in. I was super stubborn, and then eventually I tried to. I'm still stubborn, but broke a little bit of it. Where, the best way to get better is just to listen to people who are better than you. And I've been super. One of the things that doesn't really get talked about in Magic that much is like the networking aspect of things.
Oh,
and I was super fortunate that I just kind of got like the silver platter of networking when it came to Magic.
Yeah.
Like I was just a lot of times just on teams with players who were way better than me, and kind of didn't feel like I did anything to get on that team. Like I just kind of was fortunate to end up on those teams, and that was huge for my career. So kind of one aspect of the game that I guess people don't talk that much about. But
I mean,
that I can relate with a lot. Like I wanted to say like
actually, yeah, Felix talked about this like almost. He basically told the same story, but about like when he started, and that's like the opposite of you, I think. Or I mean, that's not true.
What do you mean by that? Yeah. So I started playing Magic like in 2012, I think, like January 2012, and I started like hanging out at the game store where Pascal used to work, and that's kind of how I got into like the inner circle in Quebec City back then. Is that like I was just like being nice with Pascal and just listening whenever he was telling me stuff, and I ended up traveling, going to like GPs and not pro tours, but like GPs and stuff like that. I'm actually really not that great at Magic. That's a thing.
Disclaimer: that does not mean Felix became good at Magic.
No, I never got good in Magic. That's the thing, right? But like earlier, maybe 2 weeks ago or a week ago, in the French show we do on Tuesdays, I was talking about how like we went to Costa Rica, me and Pascal together, and I ended up staying at a house with a bunch of pro players, and I played many, many games of Magic with people that I didn't think I would be playing with ever. And all of those people never like judged the way I played, never like asked questions about like my qualification and where I was from. They just trusted the fact that like Pascal brought me there. And I think like it kind of bridges with your whole like networking thing, whereas knowing people in the Magic scene is like way much better than just like trying hard, right?
Yeah, there's like some level of both that intermix with each other, because sure. If you're good, people will notice you and want to team with you, and then use that to network. But also, like, if you're networking really well, you'll get better so that more people will network with. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not doing a good job, but there's kind of like almost like a.
I understand at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, like both can lead to.
Both can lead to great results, but I feel like it's like a healthy mix of the two is like how you get there, right?
Yeah, and they feed off of each other, almost like stepping stones. Like you go from one you use one to jump to the other that jumps you to a higher of the first one, and kind of.
And like as we said, like I'm here talking with you guys today, and I'm like not good at Magic. I'm still not good at Magic. Like whenever
disclaimer, never became good.
Like that's why I play so many hours of World of Warcraft every week, man. It's because I suck at Magic. And
hell yeah. Now you're speaking my language though, so
so we have 2020. We have BBD, former world champion and MPL Pro member of the current year, says that to another fellow World of Warcraft player. Yep, this is what we're in.
Oh, yeah.
This is really weird right now because we don't know who, like, it was already kind of hard to know exactly which players were in the MPL, not because they're doing a bad, like, publicity job or whatever, just because it's new. Like, it's normal. We don't remember 24 names or whatever. So now with the quarantine stuff and like having the only relevant tournaments that we see are like the GP thing, like if there's no MPL players in them, like there's just like that's all the results we see. We don't see names. We don't get to see, unless you're streaming, we just don't hear about you. So Felix was actually like, "Are you sure? Like MPL, the BBD is in the MPL? Like I thought he was in Rivals."
Oh, yeah, that's actually a really funny story because I went and like I listened to a lot of videos on YouTube. That's the thing. Like me and Pascal have been doing a lot since the start of the year. Like more like seriously, like listening to like people giving out interviews and stuff. And one of the guys that I've been listening to in the last maybe like couple of months is a guy called Nardwar, the Human Serviette, and that guy gives the best interviews in the world. Nardwar, the Human Serviette. Like I'll write it down in chat for people. Okay. But like this guy just always gives the most crazy interview to all kinds of like music people. So like Snoop Dogg.
Human Serviette? What the fuck?
Yeah, that guy's from like he's from Vancouver or something. He's a weird guy, but he gives great interview. And the one thing he does is I feel like he asks questions to like the people surrounding, and he does like insane, and I mean like insane research into people. So I kind of like stalked you, Brian. I'm gonna say it like that way. I kind of went and like Googled your name, and like tried to find some dirt on you to bring up in this interview.
My criminal past is coming out. Yeah. No,
but I didn't. That's the point. I didn't find.
No, you did. I have in our document. I have a picture.
Oh yeah, you do. It. Yeah. We're gonna have to find a way to show it to you, but we have to for you. But it's a tweet. Don't get too stressed out. It's a tweet. And it's from a couple years back. It's really not that bad. But the one, so I was kind of researching you, and I went like on your Twitch channel, and the last stream title you had was like MTG Rivals League, and I was like, Pascal, isn't like Brian in the MPL? I was kind of confused about it. So
maybe you mixed up with Brad. I don't know.
No, I didn't mix up.
Did you tweet that BBD recently?
No, it was like a stream title on Twitch, but like whatever. I guess like last time, did you ever play in the Rivals League, or were you always MPL?
I was always in the MPL. Okay. So I might have been making some sort of a topical joke at the time, not like a joke at the Rival League expense, but like I don't know, some topical thing.
It might have been Twitch Rivals. That makes a lot of sense.
Twitch Rivals.
Chat just say to me, yeah.
Did that happen?
Yeah, Twitch Rivals most definitely happened.
I did play in a lot of Twitch Rivals. That's what it was. Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't recently. Okay. It's not
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so that's it. So like Brian Braun-Duin, MPL player. There we go. Settle that down. Yeah.
Okay, I have the thing.
Oh, you wanna put it in? Yeah, that's good. You actually wanna gray out the word. We have a little game for you, Brian.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I love game. I like games.
We went all the way back in your Twitter history, and
no.
Yeah, we found a tweet, and we're gonna hide some words from it, and we want to see if you can remember what you said back then.
Okay.
So it's not all that bad. The tweet is pretty. It's okay. You're on it, Pascal?
Yep.
Yeah, Pascal's gonna bring it up on the stream. So if you want to open the stream,
an extremely redneck way to do this, but
oh yeah, it is good.
We got it.
Yeah. Wait, hold on before you hit that. No. Hide it. Oh, you. Oh no, that's good. No, you didn't hide the part of it, but whatever. We're just gonna read the tweet. I wanted to ask you if you remembered what the last line was, but
Oh, fuck. I ruined it.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
yeah, you really
I would have to
ruined it.
guess it's time for a carnage with Trois.
Yeah,
But
that was it.
It wasn't hidden though, so
Yeah, it wasn't hidden.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
that was,
that
man,
is
that gave me such a good laugh. I gotta say, it was really, really good.
Well,
Thank you. Yeah, I
Felix, 1 second. I'm just gonna.
I don't think I would have been able to get that if it wasn't on the screen.
Yeah,
I don't think I
yeah,
would have
fair. I mean, like if I just told you, like if I just scripted the whole thing to you, like probably you wouldn't have guessed it, but yeah. So that was the tweet I found. So it's not too bad.
No.
Yeah, I have kind of a question that's like really outside of the MTG stuff, but still kind of linked to it.
Yeah.
As a pro player, you obviously travel a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like you end up traveling like all over the country and sometimes even outside of it. What was the best restaurant you ever been to on a Magic trip?
Oh man, what was the best restaurant?
It's really the best time to ask this question because everyone's like, man, I wish I could go to this restaurant right now because you can't, right? So like everyone's just like thinking about it all the time.
Oh yeah. But first thing that came to my mind, it's not my answer though, it's just that restaurant that we went to in where was the last place? Phoenix, I think it was. That place is really good.
We went there who was I with? I was with
Yeah, you rolled in as we were leaving base, or a little bit before we were leaving. Yeah,
because I feel like that the like eating at a restaurant after a big tournament is a really huge part of the MTG Pro culture that we don't know a lot about, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
It's called the Butcher something, right? It's Butcher.
Arrogant Butcher. That's what it is.
Butcher,
Arrogant Butcher. That sounds like a
good
great restaurant to be at. Yeah.
We literally went there like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
times during
like
the weekend. Like, so good.
Actually, that's not my answer. My answer is I'm pretty sure it's a chain restaurant, but after in Seattle, after I won the World Championship, we went to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, and that was the best meal I've ever had.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's a sick humble brag right there.
Yeah.
That was
so is it safe to say that any restaurant you would have been to there at this point, at that moment, would have been the best restaurant you've ever been to?
I don't know about any, but a lot probably would have.
Your best experience, at least.
Yeah.
Fuck. McDonald's next time. Oh man. When I win Worlds, if that ever happens. If that ever happens.
Next time you got to go to a waffle a Taco Bell / KFC hybrid.
Oh,
It'll be the best meal you've ever had.
Actually closed all of them down up in Quebec.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, there was one
like
Taco
a month
Bell,
back,
and there was like, I mean, the KFC are just they all died recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would not happen.
Yeah, we gotta find our.
Maybe that won't happen, but it's fun to think about. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I actually had literally every time we asked a question so far, we just like went through a million iterations of that, so we never remember what the actual question was. But I had something related to the Finkel Kai PV.
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to say that I forgot, and I thought when I would talk about it, it would come up, but nope. So we're just gonna go to similar at least, best constructed player of all time. Or you could say active and, not like overall.
Or active or non-active, yeah.
All right. Wow, that is a tough question. I kind of want to say Kai is the best constructed player, just because. I just think of him as dominating with constructed decks. I don't know like that history of Magic quite as well. But I think of like John Finkel as also just being like an insane limited player, and I imagine that Kai was also great at limited. He had to have been, but I think of him more as a constructed mastermind. So I'd probably go with Kai.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting because that's like not. He certainly wasn't for the past like 10 years, right? I'm guessing. But you've tested with him, so I guess you can hear his input on decks and stuff, and if
Yeah.
he's actually like dedicated to it and stuff, and like still,
I
has the brain power to do it.
I would say of all time, I would go with Kai. Current Magic, probably not. Not like, not knocking on him at all. He's just not putting in the time to be. And I've tested with him, and he's very good.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong on that. Like I really appreciate his ability to drill down to what decks are good in a format. Like he's incredible at that. And that's I think was a huge part of his. He's still good at that. I think that was a huge part of his success before too.
That's something I didn't know that I think changes my my view on like Finkel versus Sky or whatever. But like the fact that he's still good at, because I don't talk to him that much, so like obviously we never talk about Magic really, so I didn't know that of him, and that certainly makes him better than what I already thought.
Yeah, current player is tough. I mean, I would go with the easy homer answer of Brad Nelson. I think that would be true for sure of like the last like 3 or 4 years. I know Brad's not playing as much Magic right now either, so right now it's probably not him. Don't come down here, no offense. But
you hear banging.
Yeah. Hey, why are my belongings out in the front yard? I don't understand.
I almost spewed my gin tonic.
Nice.
Gin
and tonic, a quality choice.
Oh yeah,
it is.
BBD knows about them gin tonics.
I do.
Oh yeah, damn straight. All right, I'm actually.
I taught them the ways, if I remember correctly.
Oh, you did?
Taught him the ways of the gin tonic.
You taught me some bad ways. Not bad in terms of the gin and tonics, but the end result. So.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the end of that conversation.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Knowing that you've tested with Kai and everything, and I also know that, like Brad mentioned in the chat earlier, that like you were a great testing partner. What would you say is like a quality that you seek with people that you're testing with? Like what makes a good testing partner, I guess. Yeah.
So I think like openness is a big one. Like just being willing to change your mind on things, being open to try things out,
share knowledge and stuff like that.
Yeah, like not locking in on stuff, or not being like, oh, that deck sucks, let's not even bother testing it, like that kind of stuff. It's really easy to fall into that. I think a lot of like the really best players, people would be surprised at how open they are when it comes to stuff. Like, people think of like the best players as being like, oh, they just hammered and locked down on the best deck in the format like right away. Like they're just so good. It's like actually they they played some heinous 4-color monstrosity for 3 hours just to see if it was good. So.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good trait. I don't even think that I have that trait myself. I think I'm kind of bad at that, but I do think that that's like something that I really value in other testing people.
It's like being willing to give some time to test out an idea, regardless of what you think about it, or just just the science of it. Yeah,
exactly. Just being open to things too. It's like someone's like, "Why don't we try this?" And it's like, "Okay, yeah, let's try it." Like. Give it a shot, see how it goes. No harm in doing that. So
I do kind of feel though that you could have a mix of players that are all on the same fairly high level, where like if they can just say like, no, this deck, this is not functional. Like this, it would be a waste of time to try it. Like obviously that's you can be stubborn and like not open and always say that by default, but you can also be enough good that you're able to just say by looking.
Yeah, I guess you could actually be right saying that in some
sense.
But you need everyone to be on that same page though, because otherwise there's always going to be someone who says, no, this deck sucks, I'm not spending time on it. So I think it's a super hard balance to actually find. If you think about it. Yeah.
I would say the other thing to provide an answer that's unrelated to Magic, the quality that I care, that there are two other qualities I care a lot about in testing partner, and it's somebody that I get along with and somebody who's like an adult. And
for sure.
Yeah. I just value both of those like
John
super
Stern
highly.
Is the adult of every Magic team ever.
That is
He
true.
is,
Even teams he's not even on, he's just the adult.
He's the responsible adult for the whole Magic Pro scene.
Literally, like,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time. I traveled a lot with John, and like, he's on his shit.
I've tested with John some. I did like some draft boot camps with Pascal where we would spend like a week drafting the same set for the upcoming Pro Tour and whatnot, and sometimes John would be there. And yeah, I feel like John Stern is one of the most like mature's a word, but I feel like it's not big enough to describe his behavior as a person. Like he's super, always calm, always like super.
Do you know how organized is it? He has spreadsheets of everything. He has a spreadsheet of like his underwear and like the order in which you wear them. Like, I'm kidding. Oh, I don't.
Oh, okay, all right.
He might have one.
Actual thing.
He might have one. I was saying like,
I mean,
he has a spreadsheet for everything, and it's smart and it makes sense and it's a good idea, but it's so like, and he has this old ass laptop that he changed recently, but he had for so long is like shitty, super heavy laptop that he would like open up everywhere we are and just like find Wi-Fi and update his spreadsheet. So about like, I don't know what just happened.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a lot of very exclusive information on John Stern's Google Drive. That's what's up.
Probably. Yeah. That's what. Probably.
I'm gonna have to actually cancel this. I need to get my John Stern hacker up and running. Been working on it for years now. But...
Yeah. You want to learn the secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Pascal did the underwear thing, and I was like, "Yo, that works out. I could actually make that happen."
I mean, yeah, you could be like.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I don't know how you would do this exactly.
I'm gonna admit something. I don't consider it embarrassing, but other people might. But I have a lot of like, not really spreadsheets, but like kind of spreadsheets of World of Warcraft information. So
tell me all about it. Tell me all about it. I want to know.
I have a Warlock spreadsheet that I input all my information into. You know, I have all that kind of stuff, so I understand. I understand it 100%.
Loves World of Warcraft, and I love spreadsheets. So like, perfect. Really interesting.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm okay with spreadsheets.
I have spreadsheets for a lot of things in life, but not as many as John's. And to be fair, I probably have that many because of John. Like, he basically taught me the ways, I saw him do it, and it's smart. And John is smart, so. Checks out.
But like Pascal is more of a notepad guy, though. Like,
lots of notepad action.
Yeah, I'm a notepad.
Are you a notepad aficionado as well, Brian?
I am as well. When I said sort of spreadsheets, what I meant was some were spreadsheets and some were just notepad files that approximate what a spreadsheet could do much easier.
This is perfect.
Yeah, it's basically a spreadsheet.
Has information on it. It's a digital file. Let's call it a spreadsheet. Oh, no.
Everything's a spreadsheet if you boil it down.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely. I'll leave you with that.
What are you drinking, Brian?
I'm drinking.
Look at the bottle.
It is the crisp, refreshing taste of the Diet Pepsi.
Oh, okay. Oh. I was like, I kept not saying correctly, and it looked like some kind of like unique beer or whatever that I've never seen before, but it's actually just Pepsi. Was the most boring.
I'm not drinking right now. I'm not drinking, which is unfortunate, but
okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Felix and I have like, we've adapted to the quarantine life, and we are now drinking at every hour of the day.
Excellent.
No, I try and start at like dinner time. So like when dinner time comes, I'll pour a drink. But I'll try and keep myself productive during the morning herbalism grinding times. You know, I'm trying to stay on top of the game.
Yeah, you gotta get those. You gotta get those black lotuses with a clear mind.
Oh yeah,
and then,
absolutely,
and
absolutely,
then,
dude.
Yeah.
What's like the biggest non-magic skills you'd say you have?
So I was asked this. I was asked a question once by Josh Cho. And the question was, what skill would you rank yourself at an A+, like against everyone in the world?
Ooh, that's interesting.
And so like I feel like that's a very similar thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same question, right? Yeah.
And my answer was sleeping.
Wow. That's a serious answer because I'm really bad at sleeping. Like,
yeah,
I'll go to bed at the worst time and wake up like whenever my body feels like waking up. I don't feel like I have any control over my sleep schedule, right?
Oh, wait, is that what you mean, Brian, or you mean like you sleep like a lot and you don't give a shit, and that's why you're good at it, or are you scheduled and everything?
Oh, I'm not scheduled at all. But I can like. If I'm super tired, I can sleep for like 1 hour and get like, go right into my like heavy cycle or whatever and get like way more than an hour's worth of rest.
Oh,
I can pretty much sleep like anywhere, like pretty much. And, I don't have problems sleep. Like I'm just a good sleeper. Like, I don't know how else to describe
That's a very valuable life skill, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
Keep it, man.
I hope so. I hope so too.
Wow, that was not what I was expecting.
Well, that's why we're asking those questions, man. That's exactly why we're asking those questions.
Wow,
it's really good.
So, what was the original question again? So I can provide a real answer. No,
so
that is a real.
What non-magic skill would you say like your? What non-magic skills would you say you have? Like, are you good at, I don't know, like sculpting wood or just like...
yeah.
Do you have any gnarly skateboard tricks we don't know about?
Honestly, I don't have any like, off the hand, like hobby type stuff. Sure. I'm not like... Sure. I don't really have anything off on that regard. So yeah, I don't really know. I think that I'm good at like solving puzzles, which is kind of a magic skill.
It is kind of a magic skill. Again, like if you're doing like a regular 1,000-piece puzzle, like it's not really a magic activity.
Yeah.
Like if you can be good at like having, I guess, like good like methods or certain ways to do things to solve a puzzle faster, like that's valid. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even. I mean more like puzzle in a general sense, not actual puzzles.
Not like actual puzzles, but like Rubik's cubes and.
I mean, it kind. When you think about it, it's similar, kind of though. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody is like I'm a puzzle pro, but like.
Ooh.
Oh, some people are.
Some people are.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a puzzle world champion, man.
Okay.
That's
but
the
I mean,
thing.
it is actual skills. Like it may seem like irrelevant or not entertaining or whatever. Like it is still something that you could probably master.
Yeah, and you can still like work on it and get better at it, like exactly as you said, like master it. But that's a very good answer. Like, yeah.
All right, best limited player. Just best limited player. Let's go.
Current or all time?
Whichever you want to answer, man.
I'll write down in my notes that I want both answers. I want like.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't like. I don't think I'm the best person to answer this question because I'm not really like a great historian of the game. But my snap answers would be like Finkel for all time and Paul Rietzel for current.
Finkel for limited all time, and then Rietzel.
Paul Rietzel for current.
Okay. Interesting. I thought about it the other day, and I was like, I would say, I'm kind of biased, and I think it's something that's really hard for anyone to answer actually, because it's kind of ever changing, and like some people have their good like 3 years or whatever. I feel like it really flows with like how Wizards design their cards and their formats, and sometimes the same line of thinking is there for like 2 or 3 years, and like I feel like some people are just like better with this or whatever, and so they change. I I'm super influenced by the people that I drafted with and like that I talked to about limited, because limited is so deep, right? Like so much deeper than constructed in terms of like theory and stuff like that. I think it covers a lot more grounds of Magic related concepts.
That's a pretty recurring theme.
But I could honestly be wrong. It just feels. But yeah, I don't know. That's how I see it.
I'm gonna word it how we word it on the French show, because we talk about this a lot on the French show. Okay. And what we say about limited in the French show is that it's really, really more of like ABC Magic, but not in a simpler way, but in a you have to know your like basic MTG like theories before you play.
You don't need to know about like how you should build X deck, because there's not X deck in the format.
Or how does card advantage work in general. In like, well, I feel like that's a pretty broad theory, but like.
Yeah, I like that definition a lot, actually. It's like, it's more fundamental Magic, not in that it's simpler, but in that requires more of the fundamentals. That's a good way to describe it. I like that. Yeah.
So because of that, the person that I didn't even talk that much, but like the most respected player around me basically in the limited was Rich Owen. Do you know?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So he did play quite a lot actually in the past like few years, but when I started he was like almost never there, and then he qualified. He like showed up to a GP. So I'm just gonna explain why I think he's like one of the best players, and I at least have the most justifiable answer is that he like showed up to a GP, a limited GP, a set that just came out, and like I think he won the GP or made finals, and like we hadn't seen him in like so long, but I heard a lot about him, like he was one of the best Canadian limited players and all that stuff, and like he just showed up and crushed, and like I got to know him a little bit after because he qualified for a PT and he was testing with us, and like I got to talk with him and like how he sees limited and all that stuff, and like. I also saw his MTGO account where he had like fucking like more than 100 pack of each set of Magic the Gathering that was online.
Damn.
Like he just drafted every set so much that he just has like leftovers 100 packs of like each. It was just crazy.
That's
I was like,
crazy.
What the fuck? And he was like moto rich. Like I know he has a pretty good job, and like that's why he doesn't care about like the content of his Moto account, but like I've had times in my life where I had to unload some stuff in my Moto account to be able to go to a GP, and like no, he has like 10 times the account that I've ever had, and he doesn't know or care or whatever. So I just thought it was really funny and just a super representative of how much he drafts. And I don't know, I heard his his thoughts on each of the formats. Obviously, I was way worse back then when I was talking with him somewhat frequently, but he is like the person I would say probably all time, and also it's not just Canada. Like other people say that Rich was super good in his time. I've heard his name, and he was testing with Pantheon, I think. So like, obviously everyone knows he's really good. So I'm probably not that far off by saying he's like one of the best time.
It kind of bridges with what Brad was saying in the chat. Like, he just said that right now. It's like, I don't know who the best limited player is, all-time or now or whatever, but they are on Team Pantheon.
Yeah, I agree, actually, because I think limited is something that is just so hard to nail down, and, like, you need to be really, really, really deep into Magic, know a lot of concepts that, like, the more you know about Magic of all eras, I think that just what makes you a better limited player. So I think if you've been playing Magic for longer and like cared all these years, like if you actually like were immersed in all these concepts over more years than other players, you're just going to be better. And like most of Pantheon are like people that are in their 30s, beginning 40s. I mean, some are in the 40s. Like, it's just people that have so much knowledge about Magic. So I think it makes sense. Yeah, it's just the oldest team.
Yeah, it's kind of Limited's kind of weird where like I agree 100% with what you just said, where it almost feels like there's like no skill cap to Limited, and you can just keep getting better and better and building off older and older knowledge that, like, to me, it's almost impossible for somebody who's been playing Magic for like 5 or less years to be the best limited player in the world.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah,
it's just,
for sure.
to me, it almost feels like an impossibility. And like all these people, like I don't know Rich Hohen personally, and I have heard a lot about him being really good and stuff. And to me, he fits the bill of the kind of person who is the best limited player, just somebody who's been playing forever, who's just plays a ton of limited, because those old school pros are just like all the good limited players pretty much. It feels like they just have been playing so long, and modern Magic's all about constructed now too. So it's like
it is. Ooh, I can bridge in like super naturally to a new question, but you just mentioned like modern Magic, not as like a format, but more as like the design identity of the game, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, would you say you prefer that older approach to it, like with resources and card advantage, or the newer Magic with tempo and snowballing and all that stuff?
I'm not sure. I kind of have I don't. My answer is not just to snap one or the other.
Okay, I was gonna. I wanted to predict what you were gonna say.
Okay.
Because I was gonna guess that I think you would say you like Magic more snowballing and stuff, because I think you're someone who likes. I mean, you'll also start playing Magic like a lot later, competitively, but like, you like mid-range decks. I think a lot. Like you like. Also, I've teamed with you. We didn't mention that, but like. Brian and I teamed like 4 times, I think. 3 or 4 times.
Was that during the East West Bowl?
We had a top 4 and two top 8 win-ins, or top 4 win-ins.
Yeah, we were crushing.
3. Oh, 4th was in Ohio when we didn't D2. Remember?
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. So I know like a little bit how Brian plays. So, and I think he's like, he actually explained that to me a little bit, because you were playing the Death Shadow deck, I think, with bubbles in it and stuff, and like fetches, and you told me something that like super resonated with me, because that's like what I'm good at and in Magic, and unfortunately it's not that relevant. It's like all the small details, such as like you're playing your bubble, and before, like, when do you crack it upkeep on their upkeep. It's like all these small edges that you gain that, you know, when added up makes a difference, but like sometimes they don't make a difference, or sometimes you play decks that don't make that difference. And I feel like you play decks that are a lot more like what I just explained, like decks that don't care about the small details, like and stuff. Like you play the Death Shadow stuff deck. The only super hard interaction I think it had was that. Like I don't want to even say hard, because it's not hard. It's just all small things and timings that like makes it a little different. I don't know. Do you have a better way to explain that, Brian? You know what I mean, right?
I know what you mean. It's just like you have a ton of micro decisions, and every little micro decision helps you, and but sometimes none of it matters, because like sometimes it's like, okay, I played my bobble at the right time, and I cracked my fetch at the right time to give myself like 3 extra percentage points on drawing a lightning bolt, but I didn't draw it, and my opponent's cranial plating on their Bolt Scourge dealt me 20. So I like those decks. Like Lantern Control is one of my favorite decks I've ever played, and it is exactly that kind of deck. I actually really enjoy those decks the most. Those are the most fun decks for me to play. But I don't like incredibly grindy Magic, where like my one of my least favorite games of Magic is like the green black like Wild Growth Walker Jade Light Ranger mirror match.
Oh
like,
boy, yeah.
Where it's like both players are gaining like up to into the 30s and 40s of life, and it's like you have to wait until you draw your third finality to get so you can have a 9/8 Carnage Tyrant to whittle them down with. Like, I don't enjoy those kinds of games of Magic that take like 35 minutes. And I feel like a lot of the decks where those micro decisions matter are also the kinds of decks that lead to that kind of Magic. So I don't know, like, how to answer that. But
that's a good way to answer it.
That was a very good answer. Yeah, absolutely.
like, I think. So I mean, you'll. I think if I remember correctly, you started like winning and stuff and being competitive and I don't know, maybe professional, or probably professional when it was like Thragtusk and Restoration Angel type.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like I feel that's like exactly when that super snowbally Magic started. Where like it's just haymakers over haymakers and like cards that are good behind and ahead. So like I don't know. I feel like Magic changed so much before that. So I think our question is not super well suited for Brian because I don't think you really, and you say you're not even like that well versed in Magic's history, because before that it was like, you know, a control deck would take the advantage like okay, the wind guns were not that good, and the card advantage or snowbally card did not exist or were not very good, and they were not certainly not snowbally. So, like the blue-black control deck would just run the other out of resources for a couple turns, then play Factor Fiction or whatever, so gain an advantage of 3 cards, but the other person would like have like at least 4 turns to get back into it, kind of. And like now, if you fall behind 1 turn, it's like game over. The decks are so consistent, nobody misses a beat. Like, I feel like exactly what we said, like snowball tempo is so like, it's basically Magic now, like entirely, even in limited sometimes. Like, it's just so, it's a lot different than before. And actually, I started playing Magic before that, and I see more, the more I learn about Magic, which is literally endless, like, the more I realized that Magic before was so much different. And so I built, like, we have, like, an has-been cube that's, like, there's no Planeswalker in it. That's, like, the rule, because I feel like Planeswalkers started that. And so it's, like, old cards, and it really plays. It actually, you feel like you're playing a different game, I think. And
yep, it does. It does feel like it.
I don't want to say that it's better, because sometimes, like, when one every 3 game, someone loses because of mana issues and stuff, and like variants just hitting too hard, like that sucks. But like, it feels nice and refreshing sometimes to just play the way you used to play, and I think you can only find that with old cards and stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I completely like Magic now. It's so much different than then. Like I when I think about old school Magic, I think about like each player sitting there with 5 counterspells in their hand, and it's like, all right, I will only use my counterspell on specifically this card, and then the other person knows that that guy's only going to use their counterspell on specifically that card, so then they have to play their game plan around that inevitable counter war type stuff. And I feel like back then everything was so technical and so like skill dominated, and I don't even think that I'm bad at that kind of Magic. Like, one of my most successful decks ever is Miracles and Legacy, which is a lot of that kind of Magic, honestly. Yep. And that's one of my most winningest decks. And I played a ton of Miracles, Mirrors, and won a lot of them. Like, I think I'm actually good at that kind of Magic, but I don't find it to be that fun. And I think the new kind of Magic is more fun in some regards. Like, I love the Siege Rhino, Thragtusk style of games. Like, I think it's fun to play those cards.
Like, kind of creatures with ETB that, like, do something as you play them, and then losing them isn't such a big loss as just any other older Magic creature.
Yeah, but I think that there's also flaws with the new kind of Magic, too, where it's like, now Magic seems to be built in a way where you never run out of resources and you just get to play forever, and everything's like drawing you extra cards and putting like Uros and growth spirals and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that goes like a little bit too far, because like something like a Siege Rhino is like a big creature that dominates the board, ends the game quickly, and provides you with value, but if you kill it, it's gone. Like, you don't have to deal with it coming back a second time. And so I don't know, I just think that like there's pros and cons to both approaches. I think that the more modern approach is way better for less enfranchised players, like newer players or people who don't take it as seriously, because it's not quite as like a chess game like old school Magic was. And it's not like the better player always wins and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I think there's value in both ways of playing. So I don't really have a good answer, unfortunately, for that. But
yeah,
that's fine. It's a big subject.
Goal is
right?
to talk about it, not to actually have an answer. I think.
Yeah.
So
I kind of see pros and cons to both. Honestly, like I know it's like a cop out answer, but it's just the way I feel like
it's hard to make a perfect game, right? Mm-hmm. Like I kind of think of like older, like maybe TCGs from the past. Like, and sometimes I think about Legends of the Five Rings, which was an old TCG that ended up like in the beginning of the 2000s. But that trading card game didn't have any playset rules, so you could play like, I don't know, like 60 times the same card in your deck, right?
What game was that?
Legends of the Five Rings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I never played that game, but I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah, I haven't played it either, but it like one of the main things that killed the game, according to players that played it, like because I was working in a card store and had some discussion with them, is that the game was so well balanced that there was no metagame in it. Like, whereas every little thing was so well made from a like balance standpoint that like there was no.
It's also a political game though. It's a multiplayer game. I know.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I didn't know that part of the game, but I know that it's because I there was like a few players that were going to our LGS that were like going to World Championships and stuff, but it was like a super political. From what I heard, it's like games of like 6 or something, and it's like political as shit. Like you have like you're in a clan or. It looks borderline Dungeons and Dragons, you know, like, and not actually super like nobody's actually going to try to build a deck that kills on turn 1 because they're just gonna like there's no point. Someone's just gonna try to kill you super quickly if you do that, or I don't know. That's like I literally don't know the rules of the game, but
yeah. See, I didn't know about the political part of it, but
it seems to me like would be normal. There would be no metagame, or at least.
What I wanted to say with that is that I feel like in Magic and in any kind of like competitive like game in general, there has to be some kind of like some things that are stronger than others, right? Where like there's a reason or an incentive to play a certain powerful card. Let's say like Track Tusk, right? Track Tusk was really good during its time in Standard, but like there was still a metagame around it. Not every single deck had to play Track Tusk, but like you had to play certain strategies that revolved around countering Track Tusk. Whoa, sorry.
It was warping. Yeah, it was literal warp. Yeah, it was warping for sure. Like if you,
but I feel like that phenomenon is important to a game, right?
Where you could not play a deck that just loses the Track Tusk on turn 5. Like, so that eliminates a lot of decks, a lot of strategies and stuff. So for sure. Someone said, Jacob Wilson tweeted recently, so I say recently, might have been like a month, and it just like it was so true. He was like retweeting some deck list, and he was saying that basically what's the last time you've seen a game of Magic that ended and both players were like empty-handed, or you know, like it doesn't happen anymore. Like you always have a million cards in hand, and like running out somewhat of resources is like not possible ever again. Like it, well, maybe if it changes design, but for now, it's not a viable strategy to hope that they run out of stuff so that you can start doing something. You have to be doing something while you disrupt them. Like you need to close the game fast because so basically, as I said, like all tempo, all like snowball and stuff. So
yeah, I don't find that to be so like. Yeah, like kind of like what I was saying before. I don't find that to be very fun. Where games, I like a game to finish. Not saying that games don't finish, but it's like a game finishes when one person like overpowers the other person to win. A game doesn't finish anymore by one person running the other person out of things to do.
Yeah, you have to accumulate a small advantage every turn. And like you're actually never sure. The other day I was playing. I didn't really play that much recently, but like I played some deck a little bit, and like. We just had a game where like I never felt like I was able to close, even if I was like drawing fucking 7 cards a turn, and I was casting 3 spells a turn for like 5 turns, and it was never enough. And like they would do the same, and then I would feel like a little bit behind, but not really. And I was like, when is this game ever gonna end? We don't have, all of our cards are just so good. Every turn, someone takes the advantage again. Like, I don't know, I really didn't like that, but that was a small sample size.
I just came up with a very interesting question while you were talking about that. Do you think, Brian, that the game is more interesting to watch nowadays than it was maybe like 5 years ago?
I think, well, one really easy answer is yes, because I think MTG Arena is just infinitely more watchable.
Oh yeah, totally.
Than Magic on other platforms. In terms of gameplay itself, I would argue it's probably like it's probably easier to follow the game because cards are more power. Like, you know, it's like, oh, this person plays this big card, now this person plays this big card. It's easier to kind of follow along. But I think, honestly, just like keep harping on this, but I think like the Siege Rhino era of Magic was like the most viewable for Magic because people played big things and there was exciting plays being made, but games also ended.
Yeah, and I guess the cards were not nearly as convoluted as they might be today. Like Siege Rhino is a pretty simple creature. Like you don't need a lot of understanding of what Magic is. Understand that it's a good card, right?
Nowadays,
yeah.
Like I think Questing Beast is just the most like hilarious way to explain all of this. It's just like, look at all the fucking abilities on that card, and it's like a sideboard card, and like sometimes it's played, sometimes it's not good. Like it's good and it's playable, certainly playable, but it needs a specific a specific metagame or whatever, or a specific
it's just a card like Questing Beast, right?
Yeah,
like Questing Beast was kind of going back and forth between like sideboards and main decks, and nowadays we don't even see it all that much.
Yeah, it's just it really depends on the.
And that card is like more lines of text than rampaging for us on, right?
Yeah.
And all the cards are like that. You know, like okay, so I had something. What I did recently in playing Magic is playing limited. I played Ikoria, and I only drafts actually a little bit of sealed. But anyway, I had this deck once that was like blue-red with like. Do you know the cards from the new set? I guess you don't, Brian. You probably don't know the cards.
Yeah, I don't know anything that's not been a major card in Standard. So
okay, but basically, blue-red is always like spell-based. So my deck was like a blue-red spell-based deck, but in like all my cards were super simple. I had like the Scroll Thief, but it's like a 2/2 instead of 1/3. I had that and like a 3/2 double strike for 3 basically. I had like Essence Scatters, Fire Prophecies, which is just like deal 3. I had like 4 Essence Scatters, and I had like 3 Neutralize. So my deck was like Essence Scatters, cancels, like super simple removal. I had like the Rock Slide thing, which is 4 mana, deal damage equal to number of lands to a creature, so super simple. It's like all my deck looked like M11 draft. Like,
nice.
Like maybe 9th edition, 10th edition. Like it was like all super. I could probably safely say 10th edition. Like all my cards just so simple, but it's something that's really good to do in the format. But that's like the only deck that can be like that. All the other cards have so much text, like mutate and all that stuff. So yeah, it was like one of the past like 7 years that I feel like I have a deck that looks like old Magic, and that's limited. So
you're like, what is this? A vanilla creature? What is that even? I've never seen one of those.
Even Colossal Dreadma is not in a dinosaur set, man. Like
true, yeah. If I have a totally like different question this time around.
Okay.
Like, if Magic never came to be, like if it wasn't a thing that existed, do you think you would be able to? Not like do you think you would be able, but could you right now tell us like what you'd be doing instead of it? Does it feel to you like Magic is such a big part of your life?
That's a really good question, actually.
You would not be something without it.
That is an incredible question, and also I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about that question because I often wonder like what would my life have been like if I never played Magic, or if I never like you know, like I think back to like my friend in college teaching me the game, and I'm just like, what if that had never happened? Like that event or whatever. Like I was debating between going to 2 different schools. If I went to a different college, I would have probably never learned Magic. So
what were you in school? What were you doing in school? If you
computer science.
Computer science. Okay, yeah. I think you told me before.
But on the same, so like for me, it's like, okay, the easy answer would be doing something computer science related, but I didn't like it, and I actually never graduated with a degree in it. Like I dropped out, and I didn't enjoy that, and then I just kind of like ended up going down the Magic path. So honestly, it's really hard for me to answer that question because I didn't have like a solid fallback, and who knows, like.
Right. That's kind of where I wanted to go with that question, is that I feel like for a lot of people that were invested in Magic, I'm not a Magic player myself, but I've been working in Magic stores for over like 8 years now, and it feels to me like Magic is such a big part of my life that I have no like conception of what I'd be without it. Right.
Yeah.
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 And I feel like
a little bit older. Brian was a bit older, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of started playing Magic at like 13 or something. Like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I started in college, so yeah.
Like, before this happened, you were basically like when you were 13, you were probably not thinking seriously what you were going to do when you were like 19 or 20 or whatever, right, Felix?
Oh, not really. No. Yeah, I mean, I still don't know where I'm going.
You were doing music stuff at school.
Yeah, I guess I sort of have like, but I wouldn't call like music a fallback plan, right? Music is kind of even more of a grind that like Magic could ever be for someone.
Yeah, so it's always a hobby, except for a very small percentage of
like
people.
Yeah, music is like a passion, but like if you're like, I feel like the more you want to make a living out of music, the less creative you have to be about it, right? It's kind of like, I feel like maybe you can make like a link with Magic in that, but like music, like the music that people buy and consume is music that's made to please the people, not really to satisfy like an artistic need of like making a song about something, right? It's more of like, let's go to the club, let's have fun and stuff like that. So I feel like, yeah, for me, like Magic was the one thing in a long time that meant like I had a stable social life out of it. I had like a job out of it. I had some information to absorb, and I don't know, like new stuff to learn every day because of Magic, right? You can always learn more about that game. It's crazy, really. And yeah, I feel like it's such a big pillar in my life that like I would not be the same person without it. And that's why I asked that question to you, because I feel like it's probably a very relatable thing for anybody that's invested in Magic.
Yeah, it is for sure. Like I think that Magic has made my life so much better. And not just the game, but like the community, the people, all kinds of stuff. Even like becoming a name in the game. Has helped me in so many ways with different things like social anxieties, or I'm a super like reserved, like shy person, and it's kind of helped me get out of my bubble a little bit. Like I don't know, Magic has just helped me in so many different ways. And it's hard for me to imagine that my life could be better than it is now if I had never like gone down the Magic path.
Ooh, that's a very satisfying answer. Yeah, that's great. That's great, really. Like if it makes you feel like your life is the best it could be, like that's awesome, man. Like I wish it keeps going in that direction for you.
I mean, I think my life could be better through better decisions on my part.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like it can always be better, right? You can always make it better. But like you feeling that like Magic is the best thing you could be doing right now is awesome. Yeah.
You feel like you have a decent result so far.
Yeah. You briefly mentioned like before you were a name in Magic. What would you say was, like, I'm a very casual Magic player. We've mentioned that before in the show tonight, but I'm not really good at that game. And sometimes, I've been known throughout the years for very famous misplays I've made. What's one misplay that you got a lot of that you got shit on for a long while?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. Like, I I didn't really get shit on for this, but
well, now I will.
well, so the first thing that came to my mind was not a misplay. It was just a error. Like I played a Obsidat when I didn't have the right mana to cast it in a camera match in an SCG Open, and I took a lot of shit for that for a long time. It's just like the classic, like you do something wrong on camera and people think you're cheating.
Yeah, it kind of makes you look like a cheater, even though it was probably like it can, like mistakes happen.
Oh yeah, like I had 4 or 5 lands in my hand. I just played the wrong one and then cast Obsidat or whatever. I could have just played the right one and played it. So
I had that happen to me. If you wanted to finish that, because we always open up other.
Oh yeah,
finish that.
Yeah. I was gonna say that mistake-wise, like the one that's most memorable to me was like a game that I messed up against Brad in the semifinals of an SCG Invitational. That like they where I got super unlucky to lose. Like they did math on I was like 99 point some percent to win, and I ended up losing the game. And but I also messed up like in that sequence where I could have been 100% to win. Oh. And so like that error,
so it was like 2 fuck ups on top of one another. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
it was hard.
Yeah, people. So people like look back at that game as like an example of me being incredibly unlucky because I was. Yeah. But then I just always think like, well, if I played right, I would have won. Yeah. So it's kind of like a needle in the side, I guess, on that one. So.
When you talked about the Obsidat thing, about being a thing that like haunts you or whatever, I had an answer to what Felix said, and something that like people keep. It's not that many people honestly, because it's like all people from that era, and just when I started being on the Pro Tour, and basically, long story short, I did not play my land on turn 3 when I had it in my hand. And it was like top 4 nationals playing for 3rd place to go to Worlds. And I did that game 1. I won the game anyway, but like everyone saw it, and I immediately, like as soon as I passed the turn, I realized it. So this is a thing that people have been talking to me about like for a while and nagging me about. But also the thing about Obsidat that you have, I also have that. It's funny because it happened when Finkel and Feature Match played a super relevant. He was like playing blue-white control, I think, or some blue-black deck, and he like played an extra land that was super relevant. That meant he was like able to hold up like a better counter spell or something, like in a turn that could matter. So when this happened, like he honestly didn't get that much shit. I honestly do not think he was cheating. I don't think he's a cheater. I just think that like. I've seen really good players, people I don't think are cheaters. I'm pretty sure are not cheaters. And like sometimes just happens, man. Like in long games and stuff, you have a lot of permanents, whatever, you play an extra land. It just happens. And sometimes you're just deep in the game thinking about other stuff. So I don't think he was cheating there, but the fact that like nobody said anything because it was Finkel, I thought was like kind of, I didn't like it. And something happened to me a little bit after that, and I played an extra land. I was playing I think I was playing the blue-red Delver Mirror with Treasure Cruise in Modern, like the Broken Era. I thought it a GP, and I was playing for, I don't know, like late rounds probably. Some
was that Oklahoma or
Oklahoma, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I played
Omaha, I think it was.
Yeah, Omaha makes more sense. Yeah, Omaha. Yeah, Oklahoma City. That's a different one. But okay, so it was broken Treasure Cruise. It was a mirror match. We had a bunch of lands in play, and our deck was playing like 16 lands. I don't remember. So like at some point, your fetches were not fetching anything. And I played an extra land that was a Scalding Tarn that could not fetch anything, and people like. Yeah, I got shit for it, and I'm like, fuck you. Like, this just happened to Finkel, and it was super relevant. For me, it was literally, I never cracked it. It was never relevant. Even if I had something to fetch at that moment, I would have never cracked it because I had, like, all my lands in play. I could never use that mana. I just played it because I had too many cards in hand, right? Like, so, and I thought that like I didn't play my land, and I was like, okay, I have 8 cards. I didn't play land and just played it in a game that was like going to time soon. So I don't know.
Oh yeah,
that's like a mistake that is pissing me off because it's so easy to figure out that I was not cheating. Like, you're just
that's how that's how I felt about the Obzat thing too, because it was very obvious that I could just cast it if I played a different land, and the land I played was completely irrelevant to the game, and we were under like an extreme time crunch to finish our match. It was the same type thing. It's like, and yet like I don't know, that kind of stuff. It's like exactly what you said. It's like somebody, if there's no relevance there, like I don't know, people love to jump down that stuff. I feel like if people had a video camera watching every one of their games, they would realize that how many times they, like the people on the internet who are just like, oh, massive cheater needs a ban or whatever. And it's like, okay, let me watch every one of your games. It's like, oh, here's a game rule violation. Here's a game rule violation. Here's a game rule violation. Like, I mean, it's kind of wild, but yeah.
It feels to me like I've never been on a feature match. I've never played on a camera, but it feels to me like whenever you do, like even if you're used to it, there's some amount of pressure with it, right? Because then I don't know if you like feel like the thousands of people watching your game or whatever, but it feels to me like if I mess up, people can go back and look at it again.
That's actually a decent question. Like, do you still feel that, Brian?
So I get nervous at the start of tournaments still sometimes, where like I'll sit down for the first round, and I'll be nervous a little bit. But actually, when I'm playing a feature match, I actually like don't even think about the fact that I'm playing. Like I don't know, it doesn't even register to me anymore.
Ever? Okay, so you say anymore. Okay.
No,
so
well,
used to do that.
I don't think it ever. Honestly, I don't. It was probably a poor choice. I don't think it ever did. Okay. Like. When I get into a game, I just have a very like tunnel vision kind of mind, I guess. Where
so you don't get frazzled playing Magic, right? You always try and stay like the most composed as possible, and
and like when I'm getting into a game, my mind just blocks everything else out, and it's not like a something I'm like, I don't know. It's just I've always been that way. It's just a fortunate trait, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But.
No, that's very valuable for anybody that plays like I guess like not high pressure, but like high stakes games of something, right? Like whether it be like Counter-Strike or just like the best Counter-Strike players have a very stable heartbeat because they're keep their composure. They don't get stressed out when there's like someone in front of them and they have to shoot at it. Like, and I feel that even though like this is like the comparison I just made was with a very fast-paced type game, whereas Magic is as far from that as can be, right? Where you can like take some time and think about it, go in the tank, and just like But I feel like being able to keep your cool in any situation, regardless of the game you're playing, is a very, very valuable advantage, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a good life skill for anything. That's
actually, it's a pretty good life skill. So, yeah. What's your favorite archetype? Like, I'm just gonna throw that one out. Like, you prefer to play like aggro control or just like combo?
My favorite archetype is I call them engine decks. They're like Birthing Pod as an example. It's
the
just
ready
a deck.
Also. Sorry, you just got a little commander jab here.
Probably, I don't know Duretti, but probably.
Yeah. Again, that's funny because I think that's the type of decks that were not existing like in pre-modern Magic. Like engine decks, I don't think they existed. Like an engine was always a combo, basically.
Right. It was,
or ending the game very quickly, like Psychotog and Upheaval. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I don't think of. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there were any old school engine decks, and I don't think so. None that I can think of. But yeah, it's like Birthing Pod. I'm trying to think of some other. Like KCI is kind of in some ways an engine deck, not exactly, but a little bit.
Would you say like Fires of Invention is an engine deck?
Yeah. I think it is.
Not I don't think so. I don't think of it the same way.
Really?
Okay, so it has to have an activated ability. Is that what you're saying? Like,
no, it's mostly just a deck where your deck is like a functional deck, and then once you have a certain card, I guess Fires could classify, but it's not the kind of deck that I enjoy.
Oh, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
it's like your deck is a functional deck, and then once you have a certain piece, that piece kind of creates like huge advantages with the rest of your deck, and every piece of your deck fits together. And so, like Unburial Rites Reanimators, an example I have of an engine deck where it's like you have all these functional pieces of cards, and then they all work together. Like Restoration Angel with Thragtusk works together, Unburial Rites with Restoration with like they all.
You also mentioned that like you played Miracles and Legacy, so I'm guessing like Sensei Divining Top is kind of one of those engine cards that you're mentioning, right?
In some ways, like I wouldn't say Sensei's Divining Top is an engine card, but Sensei's Divining Top plus Monastery Mentor is kind of like an engine.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then if you have 2 tops and a mentor, you can loop them over and over again and just keep playing them for 1 mana and making tons of mentors and prowessing.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of an example where like the cards on each on their own right are good cards. And you can play a game with them, and then once if you get this combination together, you just generate these huge advantages. And it's not like a traditional combo deck where it's like I get X card plus Y card and I win the game. But like,
okay, yeah, you kind of have to have like a decent knowledge of all the different interactions in your deck, right? Whereas there's some amount of depth that goes in like certain one-offs being there and stuff like that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, for sure. It really depends on what your deck's doing, but yeah, there's definitely like a lot of value in having like the right configuration, because you need to have cards that are good, and then you need to have cards that like complement the engine, and if you have too many of one and not the other, like it falls apart. So yeah,
that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you.
We're closing in on 2 hours, which is what we were gonna do. It's pretty late for us here, 11. It's I guess 8 in Seattle right now, -3.
Well, it's 7:53. Yeah,
right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have one last question. And where do you see Magic in 5 years?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
You could cover like whatever aspect you want, because
you could like also like
that, probably.
I'll bring a little nuance to that. Like you can answer like where would you want to see Magic in 5 years? Like it doesn't have to be like this empirical like answer to the question. More like what do you feel like the game should be in 5 years?
I feel like the game should cater to Brad Nelson.
Ask me a question.
Okay, Brad. Where do you see Magic in 5 years? Oh, I know the answer on mtgmelee.com.
Did I get a question?
Yeah, the question was, where do you see Magic in 5 years? And then he added, oh, I know the answer on mtgmelee.com.
On MTG Melee!
Yeah. That's straight. Can I get one of those?
I got a blurred background, so you can only see it for a small part of the time. That's...
Command weekly trials. Go check out our weekly trials.
Oh yeah. A serious answer. I would hope to see. This is where I would hope to see Magic, which is a good organized play system. With I actually kind of like the whole pro system now, not in functionality, but in what it's supposed to be. Like I think there's some flaws in how it's. The functionality of it. Yeah, exactly. The execution of it. But I kind of like the overarching thing. So I'd like to see like that kind of a pro structure where people who are pro Magic players are actually pros. And then there's like a healthy, churn to it, and a healthy competitive circuit that's like one step below it. Like, because I feel like that's kind of been gutted a lot. So I would like to see that being back into a healthy thing. And that's more for like the organized play side of stuff. But like for the game itself, I think it would be nice. Like I think the game is moving way more towards like a more casual style of gameplay where a lot of the cards aren't really designed for competitive Magic as much anymore, which is like,
Okay.
I don't know. I see on Twitter people complaining about Magic cards all the time, and I think it's just because I follow a lot of competitive Magic players, and new sets aren't really designed as well for competitive play. They're more designed, like Companions is a good example, where it's like those cards are awesome for brewers, F&Mers, like people who play the game a little more casually. Like those are some of the best cards they could have ever made. But sometimes they break competitive Magic, so it's
that's like the best take I've heard on Companions ever since they've been spoiled. Yeah, like I love that. That's something I didn't really think of, is that those cards are amazing for people that like want to think outside the box a little bit.
That brings
Yeah.
me
And
one
not-
quick question. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish
go
your
for it.
thought. I have a quick question. It's going to be...
Yeah, but well, that was pretty much it essentially. Like I feel like Companions are, as you said, a great tool for people who want to like maybe explore certain area of Magic that don't work out. The grim reality of it is that what's happening in the competitive scene is that we're just like slamming them down in decks that would work without them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, you're playing Power Cube. Do you take pick one, pack one, Lutri, the new like companion that you've probably seen it? It's the 3/2 blue red Izip card.
So it's
Yeah.
a dual caster mage that only targets your spells.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you take that or Black Lotus. Like assuming you can play it as a companion, and you will obviously because you're playing Cube.
Yep. I probably just take Black Lotus. I don't know.
Yeah, I would take Black Lotus.
I'd have
just
to be
because-
convinced.
Interesting. I think it's Lutri
Okay.
by like
Okay.
some, and it's like not particularly close in my head.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think like companions, like right now in standard and stuff, like I feel like companions is really not that big of a deal because almost everyone gets to play it and it doesn't change the meta that much. There's still like a lot of decks, but I feel like we see that in internal formats, like, and I haven't played it, it's really just from seeing the
Legacy.
decks and seeing the results that people post, and it's like there's Lurrus or another companion in every single deck, and it's like in a way that like the other decks that can't play the companions are just not playable because it's such a huge advantage, and it's like I feel like if you're playing Powered Cube and you're the only one who has a companion, I guess I should mention that too, that the other companions are not there, but also it's just the best one because you can play literally any blue or red deck, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's like that good, and
Okay.
you just don't see it because in standard it's actually fine. But I guess we'll see it. That's all of the companion we're going to talk about because that's literally like every podcast and every conversation ever these days. But it's a good one. I think it really puts Magic in perspective. Like it makes us talk about what Magic is and like I don't know.
It sure raised a lot of questions.
It's
on,
not
like,
straight up a bad thing. Like,
No, it's not.
Yeah.
There's things that are good about it, and
Yeah,
we need to talk about it.
I think that the direction that Magic is going is one that is good for a lot of players, and we are not necessarily those players. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a really good way to put
Yeah.
it, actually. So yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah.
it for tonight.
Yeah.
I think, it was, what's
Any shout outs you want to give,
Crucial.
plugs you want to make, go for it.
I want to shout out
My mom.
Brad Nelson. I'm under no duress to make this shout out. I just think he's great.
I'll do it for you because he'll be happy. Please go to mtgmelee.com or
Sure.
melee.gg, I believe.
Hey, you know what?
that's easy.
Play one of our events on MTG Melee.
There's
Exactly.
also, I'm just gonna plug that because I think that's absurd. There's the Red Bull Untapped qualifier tournament that's been announced that has currently 1,900 players registered.
Are you serious?
It's gonna break the attendance.
Is that a
of, like,
stress test or
Magic
what?
GP. Like, yeah, there's the tournament is on May 16th. It's in 2 weeks. Like, I think
It's actually
this
in 2
tournament's gonna have
weeks.
like 5,000 people. What the fuck? It's insane.
That is
So,
insane.
Yeah.
It is, and it's really good because when you go to mtgmelee.com, the first thing you see on the left is the Mythic Society next to Red Bull Untapped. So,
Nice.
heard you to check out that website.
It's a pretty good website. Yep.
Yeah, so I think for us, Felix, it's going to be the Arena show on Tuesday. It's in French for the French-speaking people in the chat. You can check out our schedule, which will be released tomorrow somewhere in the day. But basically, every Monday at 1 p.m. there's a weekly trial. If you go to four-round tournaments, they're pretty quick. Like honestly, now we get some of the same people the whole time at the same. We had some of the same people coming back, so people are getting used to the whole process. And we get like I think the last weekly trial was like 2 hours and a half for 4 rounds, so that goes quick.
Oh really? Yeah.
So if you go 4-0, you get a voucher to play in the Magic Fest online.
Qualifiers.
The daily qualifiers from CFB events, and there are other prizes for 3-1s as well. So that's on Monday 1 p.m. and then we have another one on Thursday at 7 p.m. And then next weekend we don't have anything on the schedule, so a little break for us. And the rest of the week we have Goblin Credible and DZ that are streaming on our channel, doing different Magic Arena gameplay and floating heads. Have you seen DZ?
Have you seen DZ work, man?
Have you heard of DZ?
No.
You got to check him out, man. He's
Yeah.
hilarious. He
Alright.
plays with a floating head because he has like a.
Like he wears a green screen. Like he wears a green bodysuit
That's
with just a
awesome.
hole for his head.
That's so good. Yeah.
Crazy.
So you got to check him out. He's a king of TikTok. If you ever
Also,
downloaded
yeah.
TikTok.
The MTG TikTok king himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might be old, but I do know what TikTok is.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm not a TikTok user by
Yeah.
any means, but like
I downloaded it only to watch his TikToks, and
Awesome.
they are very good. So yeah, that's our schedule, and of course we have the Community Cup scheduled for May 31st. We have one every month. It's at the end of the month, and then we have Set Roulette, which you can find more information in the chat right now. Set Roulette once a month, and that's going to be the sets are going to be revealed on May 17th. The tournament is May 24th. You can find all the info in the chat. I believe
it's gonna come up
pop at some point. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for coming along, Brian. Thanks, Felix.
It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a real pleasure.
It was fun. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
We'll see you soon. Actually, we could raid someone. Let's just raid someone.
Yep.
I always forget, but it's free value.
Who
Sharing the love.
we got?
Should we raid Brad? Is he online?
Is Brad live right now?
He's probably not.
I don't think so. Doubt it.
Let's raid Rémi Fortier. He's a Pro Tour champion, and he's a French.
Oh, he's a Frenchman.
Speaking person. I don't know if he's streaming English or. The title doesn't say anything.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it doesn't sound.
we're sending you there. He's pretty good at Magic anyway. Doesn't matter the language. So raid. All right. See you soon.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks again, Brian.
Yep.
All right, done.